Hello everyone, my name is Incoherence, and this is the Battle for the Old World. That's right, it's the Battle for the Old World. That is the name of this tournament. This tournament is actually hosted by OfficiallyDevin and MrSmartDonkey. They were gracious enough to invite me into this tournament. You may remember that they had previously hosted an Attila Total War tournament, which was exclusively for Total War YouTubers, and the same is true here. You may also remember that I did not do very well in that tournament. I went through the first round, I defeated one opponent, and then I got knocked out in the second round by Malekith Skadi. It's so sad. I'm not really proud of that. But anyway, this tournament differs in a few ways. First of all, there is actually a proper rule set in place for this one. The last one was much more casual. If you want to see what the rules actually are for this tournament, you can check the description down below. There is a link to the rule set on the host's channel. In addition, this tournament is actually a best of 3 rather than a best of 1. So what you are watching now is the first battle of potentially 3. As you can see on the bracket on the screen, I was matched against ACrimsonGamer, so he is actually my opponent. As I said, this is our first battle. So I suppose we should move on. Before anything else, though, I just want to say thank you to the hosts, thank you to ACrimsonGamer for putting this all together and taking part, because it is tons of fun. If you guys haven't played in tournaments, you should really look into it, because it's like a whole other level of multiplayer. You kind of got this. Anyway, I'm rambling on. It's not important. What we should do is move on and take a look at our army compositions. So for the first battle, I decided to play as the Empire. I chose Balthasar Gelt as my legendary lord because I wanted to bring along his magical abilities rather than Karl Franz's melee abilities. I figured I had enough maneuverability, I had enough melee to carry the battle, and I just wanted to bring his spells to bear. Now, I don't have any heroes, and this is a tactical choice. You could say that I'd forgotten to bring a hero, but that's just not true. This is a pure tactical choice. No, I just straight up forgot to bring a hero. I didn't really consider them into my grand strategy. But moving on into my melee infantry, I decided to bring 4 units of spearmen, sans shield, because they're cheap as fuck and also very effective at holding down enemy lines. I also brought 3 units of greatswords to really serve as the meat, the punch to my infantry. I brought 4 units of handgunners because I figured, hey, the Chaos, hey, what do you know? The Chaos is actually a really heavily armored faction, much like the Dwarves, so I need some armor penetration, and that is exactly why I brought handgunners over crossbows. They're not much more expensive. I think they're 75 golden doubloons more, and you're pretty much paying for less damage but more armor penetration. So they're perfect for going against Chaos, for going against Dwarves, etc., etc. Now, as far as my cavalry goes, I brought a single unit of Empire Knights because they worked in the budget, and, you know, they're a little bit more maneuverable than the Demigryph Knights. They're more of a complement to the main body of my cavalry, which is the 4 units of Demigryph Knights with halberds. I wanted to bring them for their anti-large and anti-cavalry capabilities because, of course, the Chaos can bring some somewhat heavily armored cavalry, and I wanted to be able to knock them down if they were present. But not only that, the Chaos has the capability to bring a lot of large units. That is Dragon Ogres, Kolic, they've got Trolls, they've got a Chaos Giant, shit like that. I really wanted to bring some anti-large capability. And with that in mind, I brought a Great Cannon. Now the thing is, I knew that I would have missile superiority because the Chaos does not have any missiles aside from missile cavalry. I think it's like the Marauder Horsemen with their jabs and whatnot. So I knew I would have missile superiority, and I knew that the enemy would have to come to me. And I brought this cannon just to supplement that. And also to supplement my anti-large capabilities, because you can turn a great cannon on an ogre or a giant, a dragon ogre rather, and a giant, and just fucking knock them down to half health before they even meet your lines, if you're lucky. So I knew that ACrimsonGamer would have to come to me, and that's why I invested so heavily in cavalry rather than infantry. I knew that pretty much the Chaos would outmatch me in the infantry department, so I decided to go heavy on cavalry, somewhat. Well, it's a middling contingent of missiles. But anyway, I'm getting off track here. What I'm trying to say is this is my build, and we shall see how it matches up against my opponent's build. That is ACrimsonGamer. So he chose to play as the Chaos, as I had said previously, and his legendary lord is Kolic Suneater, which was very fortuitous for me, I have to say. His hero is, well, an exalted hero. You can guess that he is the hero. As far as infantry goes, he brought a lot of armor penetration. He brought a lot of great weapons. He brought 2 units of lightly armored marauders with great weapons. He brought 2 units of Forsaken, which are sword infantry. And then finally, he brought 5 units of Chaos Warriors with great weapons. Now, in my opinion, this is perhaps too much armor penetration. The Empire is kind of middling as far as armor goes. You know, a lot of their state troops have average armor values, but when you get into the elite levels like great swords, halberdiers, etc., they have more armor. And what he really needs to be aware of with this army is it's very susceptible to anti-large because of the Dragon Ogre, because of Kolic. So he needs to be able to cut through spears, he needs to be able to cut through halberds, and perhaps more sword infantry would serve him better, some cheaper units to really fill out his line. But who am I to judge? I just played against him. Now, moving on, he has 2 units of Gorebeast chariots, which I have to say are a good choice to bring because they are very much an anti-infantry unit. You can rush them through lines. You can just chew up missile lines with them. You just kind of run them around the flank, just fucking steam through, just fucking plow through, rather, would be a better word, all of the missile units that are just kind of dispersed rather. And so that's quite a good choice because obviously the Empire is, they've got a lot of infantry. Anyway, moving on. Lastly, but not leastly, ACrimsonGamer brought along a Dragon Ogre Shaggoth just to match up with Kolic, I suppose. So as I said before, this army is very vulnerable to anti-large cavalry, which are my Demigryph halberds. They're very vulnerable to missile units, and they're very vulnerable to spears, etc., etc. So if you're to match up both of our armies, you can see immediately that I have more units. I've got, 4 or 5 units more than ACrimsonGamer, so automatically that's a bit of an advantage to me. I've got a larger combat width. I've got more flexibility in my formations. Although, having said that, he does have more elite, more powerful units in his infantry line, so that's a bit of an issue. I do have a huge cavalry advantage. The only cavalry he really brought is these 2 Gorebeast chariots. And of course I have a missile advantage, so that is a bit of a matchup there. There you go. Yeah, we can immediately see that he has a lot more infantry than I do. And now the question is, can his infantry carry the day? I suppose we'll find out. I will see you guys on the battlefield. So this battle was fought on Glacial Lake, which is actually just a big flat terrain, a big flat snowy plain, I would say. Plain is in a flat surface, not plain as in like grasslands. Its only distinguishing terrain feature being this massive fucking hole in the ground, which is very interesting in that it is host to what looks to be a Chaos Temple. So I suppose ACrimsonGamer has a bit of an advantage, a home advantage, if you will. He is fighting for his ancestral home. Is it a home? I don't know. For all we know, this is like an apartment complex. I have no idea. Anyway, I suppose we should look at the formations. So ACrimsonGamer actually has 2 units of marauders with great weapons on the flank here. I suppose he wanted to shut down this flank from any advancing infantry. He's got a unit of Gorebeast chariots on the flank as well. His second unit is on the far left flank. He's got 2 further flanking units in the Forsaken that are complementing his main line, which is built entirely out of Chaos Warriors with great weapons. And then, of course, he has Kolic, his lord. He has the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth. And then finally, his exalted hero bulking out this main line. So obviously, you can kind of see what his plan is here. He's just going to charge forward with his main line. You know, that's the fucking two-handed hammer. And then he's got a bit of a flanking force either side in the Gorebeast chariots and the Chaos Marauders. You have to say, though, this perhaps is not a good matchup against what is my left cavalry wing. So I've got 2 units of Demigryph Knights on this flank, supported by my cheaper unit of Empire Knights. On the right flank, I've got two units of Demigryph Knights, who are, well, the main purpose was that they would kind of go around the flank and cause havoc, just a little bit of havoc. My main line is built entirely out of handgunners, or rather my first line, I should say, is built entirely out of handgunners. The 4 units are flanking my great cannon. Behind them, immediately, I have my 4 units of spears, which are going to absorb the charge of the enemy infantry, and I suppose pin them down so that my great swords can flank around, or perhaps charge in to fill the gaps. They're kind of in reserve, I suppose, and they are the meat of the army. I've got Balthazar Gelt in the front line, which is, in hindsight, is a bit of a miscalculation on my part. He is a sorcerer, a wizard, a badass one at that, but he is not meant. Can we get like an extreme close-up? Oh, hello. Man, I just have to say, Balthazar Gelt looks like an absolute badass. Although, perhaps he is into autoerotic asphyxiation. Look at this. He's got a rope around his neck. What the fuck is that about, man? Jesus Christ. Get a hold of yourself. Okay, bit of a tangent, but yeah, this is a miscalculation. I should really have him in the back supporting the main line. I kind of thought that my melee infantry would get into place in time, but I suppose we'll find out what happens there. So, first things first, I suppose I issue an order for my cannons to target not the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth, but rather Kolic Suneater. I wanted to do as much damage to them as I could, rather, either of those 2 units. I wanted to do as much damage as I could to either of them before the main lines met, because obviously they are the greatest threat in this line. Now, on the right flank, my left, he's moved forward with the Marauders to, I guess, put pressure on. Now, I didn't charge there because I kind of wanted to bait him closer to my lines. I wanted to maybe get a flanking charge on. And I think here, no, I'm just trying to get him to advance. Meanwhile, on the left flank, I'm still firing at Kolic with my cannons, but now he's advancing with his Forsaken. He's advancing with his Gorbeast chariots, and he has brought the chariot around on his right flank as well. So as I said, I'm trying to draw his Marauders into this kind of pincer movement. Now, here my handgunners begin to open fire. They start killing a few of these Chaos Warriors in the center. My cannons are still firing on Kolic. They're having troubles tracking him. But now my handgunners are beginning to cause casualties to his Great Warriors. And look at that, I missed a great charge on the left. My Empire Knights charge into his Marauders. My Demigryph Knights charge into his charging unit. You see, I brought both of my Demigryph Knights. He decided to charge this unit, and I brought it back just to absorb a charge. Unfortunately, my Empire Knights took a bit of damage there from the initial charge. I lost 11 men, and his Gorbeast chariots did quite a bit of damage. Although, having said that, his Chaos Marauders lost, 30 men? Something like that? Yeah, 30 men. So now, let's see, what else is going on? So I'm still firing on his lines with my handgunners. I'm still firing on Kolic. I'm beginning to get frustrated because I don't think I've gotten like 1 hit on him. It's pretty bad, but now, here comes the main charge from the Chaos Warriors. They're charging right into my main infantry line, and holy shit, here comes his Dragon Ogre Shaggoth to swing at Balthazar Gelt, knock him the fuck over. It's grisly, but now I'm bringing the Demigryph Knights over to counter his chariots. Here come all of the Chaos Warriors charging into my spears. His fucking Dragon Ogres are in. It's grisly. My spears are getting knocked around. I did have the mind to bring some handgunners around the flank to begin shooting into his unprotected, flank. It looks like 2 units of Demigryph Knights have flattened a unit of Marauders. They've begun to rout. My Empire Knights are pinning down these Marauders and these chariots, and now we can finish them off with the Demigryphs on the left. But man, in the middle, it's not looking so hot. He's got Forsaken, he's got Chaos Warriors, and they're just chopping through my lines. It is grisly. He's casting spells. I don't think I cast any spells. I don't know. I completely forgot about Balthazar Gelt in this whole fucking conflict. So now Kolic is just routing my spears. I think all of my spears have pretty much routed. And now my great swords are charging in to, I guess, get into the thick of it. Gelt is doing his best. He's doing his very best, but he is not built for melee combat. And here are the Chaos Warriors. trying to charge into my handgunners, but they're just not cut out for it. The handgunners are going to begin to cause casualties. Now on the left flank, I have annihilated his marauders, but he still has those Gorby's chariots, so I'm trying to intercept with my cav. On the right flank, I have taken out one chariot, and I have begun to annihilate his infantry with my demigriffs. This unit, I think, has routed. Yes, they've routed, and now they're beginning to take casualties from my gunners. The center is not looking good at all. He definitely outmatches me in the infantry department. Oh god, he's killed Gelt. And now my main spear line is beginning to break. I've lost a unit of great swords, but it's about evenly matched at this point. I've still got handgunners on the flank firing into his units, causing casualties. But I do have the Demigriff Knights, and they're going to get a sweet charge off into the rear, well, rather the front of these Chaos Warriors, and they're going to get sent flying. Disgusting. In the meantime, I've got my handgunners on the right flank shooting into the exposed sides of these Chaos Warriors. On the left, my gunners have been run down by chariots. They've been engaged by Chaos Warriors, and now I've got the last of... Oh my god, did you see that? This fucking Dragon Ogre just breathed. He screamed at these Empire Knights, and they just fell over dead. They said, okay, I'm dead. I don't want to get screamed at any further. But look at this. Fucking Shaggoth, rather, Kolek Sun Eater, has broken my entire infantry line. Him and his exalted hero have broken my entire infantry line, and they've begun to charge them off the field. Now, I think these Chaos Warriors were forgotten, and they've begun to get charged by my Demigriffs right in the rear, and they're pretty much out of the match. So what's left at this point is a bunch of Chaos Warriors in the middle, and the Dragon Ogres on the left flank here being surrounded by my Demigriff Knights. Luckily, my Demigriff Knights are anti-large, so they begin to chop these guys up very quickly. In the middle, I think I begin to fire with my handgunners, whatever handgunners I have left, actually shooting into the rear of my great swords. I got the Demigriffs coming in for a countercharge, and I think finally that Dragon Ogre is going to rout and actually get killed by the Demigriffs. And now I've got some Demigriffs here, taking care of these my Empire Knights who reformed, taking care of those Chaos Marauders, and now I've got some spears coming in to support my Demigriffs against Kolek. These are all anti-large units, and they are going to tear him asunder. Now in the middle, these Chaos Warriors have broken due to the Demigriffs, and then on the right flank, these wavering units are just getting run off by my handgunners. I would have to say my handgunners did quite a bit of damage in this battle. The Demigriffs definitely won the battle for me, but the handgunners definitely, I would say, played second fiddle. Kolek here is trying to flee from my Demigriffs, and I think he actually survived the battle, but it's hard for me to say. Anyway, this is the end of the battle. My infantry line in the center was completely annihilated by the Chaos Warriors, and they all reformed at the back of the map. You can see I've got spears here with my great cannon, and I 100% forgot about Balthazar Gelt, who just got annihilated. But anyway, that was a close victory. Let's look at the aftermath. So I actually deployed 1,400 men, and I walked away with 850. ACrimsonGamer deployed only 900, and he lost 700 of those men. It looks like the Exalted Hero received very little damage, but he killed 20 men. Kolek did, I would say, by far the most damage, killing 100 men. Meanwhile, on my side, the Demigriffs collectively killed the most, although I have to say, yeah, the handgunners definitely did their part, killing, 200, 250 men. One unit of great swords did really well, but 2 units not at all. All of my spears, absolutely useless, much like the great cannon. Of course, the great cannon was focused on Kolek rather than infantry, so you can't expect him to have too many kills. And then Balthazar Gelt, absolutely fucking useless in this battle. Looks like ACrimsonGamer has a unit of Forsaken that got absolutely 0 kills, along with a Gorby's Chariot that got absolutely 0 kills. So somehow I was able to nullify those 2 units. Whether it was Withering Fire or perhaps I intercepted this chariot with my cavalry, hard for me to say. Anyway, this has been the first battle in the best of 3 against ACrimsonGamer in the Battle for the Old World tournament hosted by OfficiallyDevin and MrSmartDonkey. If you like this, be sure to leave a like, be sure to leave a comment. I'll always appreciate it. I read everything. If you want to see more, be sure to stick around, subscribe. That would be wonderful. As always, my name is Incoherence, and I will see you guys later.